Most war movies lie to you. They compress battles, glorify violence, and turn chaos into cinema. But this week, you can actually stream films that historians praise for their brutal honesty. We're talking bone-crushing accuracy, real locations, and performances so authentic that actual veterans wept in theaters. Here's the question: would you rather watch a beautiful lie or an ugly truth? Stick around because number 1 made a real general so furious, he held a press conference condemning it. Number 15, Come and See, 1985. Ilem Klimov's masterpiece will absolutely destroy you. And that's exactly the point. This isn't some sanitized war drama where heroes emerge victorious. It's a descent into absolute hell through the eyes of a young teenager who joined Soviet partisans fighting the Nazi occupation in Belarus. The camera doesn't look away. When soldiers step over the bodies of their murdered comrades, we see it all. The film demolishes any romantic notions about warfare with such raw intensity that critics called it one of the most devastating anti-war statements ever captured on celluloid. The lead actor, Alexei Kravchenko, was only 14 when he started filming, and by the end, he looked like he'd aged 20 years. His transformation from innocent kid to traumatized soldier is so authentic that Soviet military historians consulted with Klimov to ensure every detail matched their combat archives. The film had to be cut because test screenings left audiences so emotionally shattered that some viewers couldn't leave their seats. Come and See isn't entertaining, it's necessary. It's the closest cinema has ever come to actually showing what war does to the human soul. Number 14, The Train, 1964. Burt Lancaster muscles his way through occupied France in this underground masterpiece about art, resistance, and moral complexity. The film follows French railway inspector Paul Labiche as he attempts to prevent Nazi Colonel von Waldheim from shipping stolen masterpieces to Germany aboard an armored train. What sets this apart from typical war films is its intellectual weight, questioning whether paintings are worth human lives while simultaneously showing Lancaster's commitment to preserving cultural heritage. Lancaster produced the film and insisted on practical effects over miniatures, resulting in some of the most spectacular train sequences ever captured on film. The production destroyed 6 real locomotives and derailed dozens of actual train cars, making it one of the most expensive action films of the 1960s at $6.7 million. Lancaster performed many of his own stunts at age 51, including a dangerous sequence where he leaps between moving train cars. He dislocated his shoulder during filming, but finished the scene anyway, showing the kind of dedication that made the sequences feel authentic rather than artificially constructed. Director John Frankenheimer's taut direction earned praise from European critics who appreciated its anti-war message and philosophical depth. The film's climax features a spectacular train crash filmed with multiple cameras that took 6 weeks to plan and execute perfectly. Box office domestically was modest at $4.1 million. But the film gained cult status among cinephiles who recognized its sophisticated approach to wartime moral dilemmas about preservation versus destruction. Number 13, The Great Escape, 1963. Steve McQueen's motorcycle chase into immortality anchors this masterpiece about the largest prisoner breakout in World War II history. Director John Sturges assembled an all-star cast and convinced the German government to allow filming at actual concentration camp locations. The film is based on the real escape from Stalag Luft 3, though it takes considerable dramatic liberties with what actually happened. What makes it historically remarkable is the decision to show the consequences. Over 50 of the 76 real escapees were executed by the Gestapo after recapture, and the film doesn't hide this brutal aftermath. McQueen performed many of his own stunts despite being a mediocre skier for the famous motorcycle sequence. The production hired former prisoners as technical advisors to ensure the tunnel digging sequences matched reality. Production designer Peter Ellenshaw studied actual blueprints of the camp to create an authentic soundstage version. The film's budget of $4 million generated box office revenue of $17 million, making it one of 1963's biggest successes. Elmer Bernstein's iconic score became one of cinema's most recognizable themes, perfectly capturing the defiant spirit of captured soldiers attempting the impossible. Modern audiences often forget that real escape attempts had horrifyingly different outcomes than this thrilling film suggests. Number 12, Dunkirk, 2017. Christopher Nolan stripped away dialogue and narrative comfort to show evacuation as pure survival chaos. The film uses three intersecting timelines representing land, sea, and air perspectives, creating a structure that mirrors actual combat's disorientation. Shot on large format film and with minimal musical accompaniment, the movie immerses viewers in the beaches of northern France where nearly 400,000 Allied troops faced potential annihilation in 1940. Nolan consulted extensively with military historians to ensure tactical accuracy, particularly regarding German fighter plane movements and British naval operations. The beach sequences were filmed at the actual Dunkirk beaches where men died 77 years earlier, creating an almost sacred reverence to the production. One remarkable detail: Nolan used practical effects and real boats wherever possible, recreating the chaos without depending on computer-generated imagery. Hans Zimmer's score uses mathematical patterns and ticking clocks to create subconscious anxiety that mirrors the soldier's psychological state. The film earned 5 Academy Award nominations and grossed $527 million worldwide. Military strategists praised it for showing evacuation not as victory but as desperate survival, which represents the historical truth far more accurately than Hollywood typically depicts such moments. Number 11. Saving Private Ryan, 1998. Steven Spielberg's D-Day landing sequence redefined how cinema depicts warfare, and military experts credit it with unprecedented accuracy. The opening 24 minutes at Omaha Beach were so viscerally realistic that many veterans watched with tears streaming down their faces, saying the sequence captured the sensory madness of amphibious assault better than any documentary. Spielberg hired Dale Dye, a retired Marine consultant, to train the cast for weeks beforehand. They endured sleep deprivation, heard explosions nearby, and practiced moving through chaos, while exhausted and disoriented. The result feels like documentary footage rather than Hollywood dramatization. The film follows a squad searching for Private James Ryan across war-torn France, exploring themes of duty, morality, and the arbitrary nature of survival. Tom Hanks portrays Captain Miller with weary authenticity, showing a soldier who's seen too much and cares too much. The film earned $482 million worldwide and won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Director. Military historians appreciate the film's willingness to show violence without glorifying it, and its portrayal of friendly fire incidents that actually occurred. The post-war epilogue showing an elderly James Ryan visiting the Normandy cemetery adds emotional weight that transforms the film from action spectacle into meditation on memory and sacrifice. Number 10. Schindler's List, 1993. Steven Spielberg created cinema's most powerful Holocaust testament with this uncompromising masterpiece shot almost entirely in black and white. Liam Neeson portrays Oskar Schindler, a German industrialist who evolved from opportunist to reluctant savior, employing over 1,000 Jews in his factories to protect them from concentration camps. Ralph Fiennes delivers one of cinema's most chilling performances as Amon Goth, the Nazi commandant whose casual cruelty emerges through mundane moments. The film required Spielberg to confront the Holocaust's historical truth without sanitization, showing murders, starvation, and systematic dehumanization with brutal honesty. The Krakow ghetto scenes were filmed in the actual locations where the real events occurred, adding an almost sacred dimension to the production. Cinematographer Janusz Kaminski won an Academy Award for his stark black and white cinematography that emphasizes the dehumanization and death. The film premiered at the Berlin International Film Festival and was immediately recognized as a landmark achievement in historical cinema. Many survivors reported that watching it was the first time Hollywood had represented their experiences with complete fidelity. The film grossed $222 million worldwide and won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Historians credit it with transforming how the Holocaust is understood by younger generations, cementing its place as essential testimony captured through cinema. Number 9. The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957. David Lean's jungle epic explores the psychological torment of British prisoners forced to build a strategic railway bridge in Burma under Japanese captivity. Alec Guinness delivers an Oscar-winning performance as Colonel Nicholson, a character consumed by the obsession of completing the bridge while remaining unaware that Allied forces plan to destroy it. The film examines the dangerous territory between duty and collaboration, showing how institutional pride can override moral clarity. Lean shot the film in Ceylon using actual jungle locations, with actors enduring intense heat and primitive working conditions that approximated the prisoner's experience. The production constructed a genuine bridge that was later destroyed for the climactic sequence, demonstrating Lean's commitment to practical authenticity over miniature effects. Guinness insisted on understanding his character's psychological state, consulting military psychologists to understand how institutionalized thinking could blind an otherwise honorable officer. The film earned $120 million worldwide against a $2.8 million budget, becoming one of the era's most successful films. Bospaus. Critics praised Lean's sophisticated exploration of honor and obsession, showing how war corrupts reasoning and transforms virtuous men into participants in their own moral compromise. Modern military philosophers still analyze the film's depiction of how discipline and pride can become dangerous when disconnected from larger strategic realities. Number 8. Paths of Glory, 1957. Stanley Kubrick's devastating critique of military command structures remains startlingly relevant. Kirk Douglas portrays Colonel Dax, a French military officer defending 3 soldiers court-martialed for cowardice after an impossible military operation. The film exposes how institutional military structures prioritize reputation over human life, showing generals comfortable sacrificing thousands of men for marginal territorial gains. Kubrick shot the film in sharp black and white with precisely composed shots that emphasize the cold mechanics of military bureaucracy. The court-martial sequences unfold with devastating logic, showing how the justice system becomes corrupted when defending the powerful. George Macready and Adolphe Menjou portray senior generals with chilling effectiveness, delivering performances that show rank-and-file indifference to the men under their command. The film was controversial upon release, with some military circles criticizing it as anti-military, though veterans have consistently praised its accuracy regarding command structure dysfunction. Kubrick based the script on a true incident from World War I, researching extensively to ensure the military procedures matched historical fact. The film earned $926,000 domestically, but gained cult status among military historians, who recognize it as perhaps cinema's most honest depiction of how war crimes emerge through bureaucratic logic rather than individual malice. Modern military academies screen it to examine ethical decision-making. Number 7. Das Boot, 1981. Wolfgang Petersen's submarine epic represents one of cinema's most claustrophobic achievements, trapping viewers in tight corridors where fear accumulates through endless monotony. The film follows a German U-boat crew during World War II from the perspective of a war correspondent embedded with the sailors. Petersen built a full-scale submarine set on a soundstage where cameras move through impossibly tight spaces, creating authentic spatial constraints that generate visceral tension. The crew members, Paramount-Quas, initially portrayed as hardened National Socialist warriors, gradually reveal doubts and desperation as conditions deteriorate. The film's power emerges from humanizing men fighting for a regime most viewers despise, showing how ordinary soldiers become trapped in extraordinary circumstances. Petersen consulted with actual U-boat veterans, incorporating their first-hand accounts of underwater combat and the psychological toll of extended patrols. The film earned $88.6 million worldwide against a $44 million budget, becoming a landmark achievement in submarine cinema. Military historians praise it for showing German soldiers as complex human beings rather than cartoon villains, which paradoxically makes the film more powerful in its anti-war message. The film's depiction of technical procedures proves so accurate that military academies use it for educational purposes, and actual submarine crews have praised its authenticity regarding operational challenges and crew dynamics. Number 6. Empire of the Sun, 1987. Steven Spielberg's collaboration with cinematographer Alan Daviau explores World War II through the eyes of a privileged British teenager imprisoned in a Japanese camp. Young Christian Bale delivers a powerhouse performance, showing a child's gradual transformation as war destroys innocence and forces premature maturity. The film is based on J.G. Ballard's semi-autobiographical novel, with Ballard himself consulting on production to ensure authentic depiction of camp conditions. Spielberg filmed in actual locations in China where the Japanese occupation occurred, adding geographical authenticity to the narrative. The production captured the surreal juxtaposition of war's mundane brutality, showing how children adapt to circumstances that would devastate adults. Cinematographer Alan Daviau won an Academy Award for his stunning cinematography, which transitions from bright colors in the film's opening to increasingly desaturated palette as war takes hold. The film earned $43.1 million worldwide and won 6 Academy Award nominations. Military historians appreciate Spielberg's refusal to simplify the occupation, showing both Japanese soldiers as complex humans and British prisoners as morally compromised by survival instincts. The film's final sequences show reunion with parents as bittersweet rather than triumphant, understanding that war has permanently changed the protagonist in ways that cannot be repaired through familial reconnection. Number 5. Thin Red Line, 1998. Terrence Malick's meditation on warfare redefines the combat film through poetic philosophy rather than narrative clarity. The film reimagines the Battle of Guadalcanal as a philosophical exploration of destruction's place in a beautiful, natural world. Malick employs voiceover narration from multiple soldiers' perspectives, creating a dreamlike quality that emphasizes the surreal nature of combat. Shot by cinematographer John Toll in the actual jungles of Australia, the film contrasts nature's majesty with warfare's brutality, creating visual poetry that elevates the material beyond conventional war cinema. The ensemble cast includes James Caviezel, Sean Penn, Nick Nolte, and John Travolta, each delivering subdued performances that emphasize internal psychological states over external action. Malick consulted military historians extensively to ensure the Guadalcanal campaign's tactical accuracy, though the film prioritizes philosophical meditation over narrative chronology. The film earned $61.7 million worldwide and won 3 Academy Awards. Critics initially struggled with Malick's unconventional approach, but it gained reevaluation as perhaps cinema's most honest depiction of warfare as fundamentally irrational and destructive. Military philosophers have written extensively about the film's examination of violence as contradicting human nature and ecological harmony. The film's influence on subsequent war cinema has been profound, encouraging filmmakers to explore warfare's existential implications rather than simply depicting combat sequences. Number 4. Casablanca, 1942. Michael Curtis directed cinema's greatest wartime romance while World War II raged across Europe, The Brüssig Innerreiches Urbexauwort, creating a film that captured the era's uncertainty and moral tension. Humphrey Bogart portrays Rick Blaine, a cynical American running a nightclub in Vichy-controlled Morocco, who must choose between personal happiness and supporting the resistance. The film was released during active wartime, making every character's motivations feel immediately relevant to audiences living through actual conflict. Bogart and Ingrid Bergman's chemistry emerges through restrained performances that emphasize internal conflict over dramatic outbursts. The screenplay by Julius and Philip Epstein won an Academy Award, delivering some of cinema's most quotable dialogue about sacrifice and duty. Director Curtis insisted on authentic Moroccan set design and costuming, despite the production occurring entirely on Hollywood soundstages. The film earned $10.65 million worldwide and won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Historians appreciate Casablanca's honest portrayal of moral ambiguity, showing that resistance to fascism required sacrifice and impossible choices. The film's famous airport finale shows separation as tragic necessity rather than triumphant heroism, understanding that victory requires abandoning personal happiness. Modern viewers often recognize Casablanca as transcending typical war cinema to explore timeless questions about love, duty, and conscience that remain perpetually relevant. Number 3. Letters from Iwo Jima, 2006. Clint Eastwood directs cinema's most sympathetic portrayal of Japanese soldiers, offering the enemy perspective rarely seen in American war films. Shot almost entirely in Japanese-language dialogue, the film presents the Battle of Iwo Jima through letters written by soldiers to their families. Ken Watanabe portrays General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, a commander facing impossible odds against American forces while managing deteriorating morale among his troops. Eastwood filmed at the actual Iwo Jima location, adding geographical authenticity to every battle sequence. The film emphasizes the soldiers' humanity, showing their fears, hopes, and sense of duty without excusing the Japanese military's atrocities elsewhere. Eastwood consulted extensively with Japanese military historians and veterans to ensure accurate depiction of command structure and tactical decision-making. The film earned $143.3 million worldwide and won 4 Academy Awards. Critics praised Eastwood's refusal to demonize the Japanese soldiers, showing them as conscripts forced into impossible situations by military leadership. The film's emotional power emerges from understanding these soldiers as human beings despite opposing American forces. Military historians appreciate the film's accurate portrayal of the Iwo Jima campaign's horrific casualties and the futility of Japan's defensive strategy. The film demonstrates that understanding enemy motivations humanizes warfare without minimizing its brutality or justifying atrocities. Number 2. Rome Open City, 1945. Roberto Rossellini filmed this masterpiece while Rome was still occupied, capturing the raw immediacy of Nazi brutality with documentary intensity. Shot on genuine locations in occupied Rome using non-professional actors, the film depicts resistance fighters and civilians under persecution by the Gestapo. Rossellini refused to use studio sets or artificial lighting, creating images that feel like newsreel footage documenting actual events. The film shows torture and interrogation with shocking frankness, unprecedented for 1945 cinema, emphasizing the everyday brutality of occupation rather than heroic resistance gestures. Anna Magnani delivers a powerhouse performance as a mother fighting for survival, her anguish emerging through restrained performances emphasizing internal desperation over dramatic excess. The production faced constant dangers because real Gestapo officers were still present in Rome when filming occurred, creating an almost documentary-like tension on set. The film earned worldwide recognition despite limited distribution, becoming a landmark of Italian neorealism. Critics praised Rossellini's unflinching portrayal of occupation's psychological toll on ordinary citizens. The film's influence on subsequent cinema proved immeasurable, demonstrating that personal testimony and authentic locations could create more powerful storytelling than conventional narrative drama. Historians recognize Rome Open City as essential testimony to Nazi occupation's human cost, preserving memory through immediate, visceral filmmaking. Number 1. All Quiet on the Western Front, 1930. Lewis Milestone's silent masterpiece captured World War I's dehumanizing horror with techniques that remain cinematically revolutionary. The film follows a group of German schoolboys enlisted into trench warfare who discover that patriotic propaganda bears no relationship to combat's actual brutality. Shot with innovative cinematography emphasizing low angles and vast empty spaces, the film visualizes soldiers as insignificant figures consumed by mechanized warfare. Milestone employed thousands of extras and constructed authentic trench systems to recreate the Western Front's claustrophobic conditions. The film's famous final sequence shows a soldier's hand reaching toward a butterfly, representing innocence destroyed by warfare's machines. The cinematography won an Academy Award, and the film swept other major awards including Best Picture. The production was controversial in Germany, where nationalist groups attacked it for showing German soldiers as victims rather than heroes. Historians recognize the film as perhaps cinema's most powerful anti-war statement, using visual storytelling to communicate warfare's senselessness with devastating clarity. The film earned $4.3 million worldwide during the Depression, remarkable success indicating audiences' hunger for honest depiction of war. Military historians praise the film's psychological accuracy regarding shell shock and mental deterioration from sustained combat. The film's influence on subsequent war cinema proved foundational, establishing conventions for depicting combat's dehumanizing effects that persist through contemporary filmmaking. So there you have it, 15 films available right now that don't lie about warfare. They don't glorify combat or oversimplify moral complexity. They show history's truth through cinema's power, which is exactly what makes them essential viewing. Drop a comment telling us which of these films shook you the most. But here's the real question that'll spark some heated debate. If these accurate, brutal war films are freely available for streaming, why do blockbuster studios keep producing sanitized action movies that audiences know aren't truthful? Are we choosing comfortable lies over necessary truths?